at 6. Thanks, Lisa. Should I start now?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Is that what she was talking about? It just drops.
Okay. Here she's coming back.
Okay, sorry about that mishap. Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order. It is 6:35. The first item is announcements. And I think one announcement is, I'm not too sure that everyone knows, that Riley Weldon has left the town of Cochrane and moved on to another opportunity. So just wanted you to let you know that. And so in the interim, another announcement is Nicole Tomes has come back from mat leave. And so I don't believe that you met Nicole. Have you, Heather? Did you meet Nicole, or was she on mat leave when you came?
I think I've seen Nicole before.
Okay.
It's my second year, so.
Right. That's your second year. Adam has not met Nicole previously, so you might want to say hello.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, and George, you're all in black and you're muted. So George, this is Nicole. Nicole, this is George.
Hello, CPC. Welcome, new member. Welcome back to me, but welcome new members. It's good to meet everyone. Unfortunately, over Zoom, but it's good to be back. Hi.
Okay, and interim leadership, perhaps, Mike, you want to speak to your leadership now, stepping up?
Yeah, thanks, Deborah. It's been decided that I'm going to take over for Riley as the acting or interim planning manager. And most of that will be focused on personnel management, and the senior planners have been given some more responsibilities to deal with the files and more of the planning aspects, because I am the economic development manager for the town, and I don't have a planning background, but I've been with development services on and off for the last 8 years and have a very good grasp of the players in the team and what their roles are. And so I hope to help through the transition period while we look for ultimate leadership in moving forward through the next 3 to 6 months, depending on how long it takes. So I'll be coming to the CPC meetings to support the team on a regular basis, and other duties as they unfold, as Drew tells me to do them. So that's sort of how it goes, which I'm looking forward to, because I'm really excited to be helping out in this nature. And we wish Riley well. I'm sorry that he's left, but it's best for his life to make this decision. So we wish him well.
Well, thanks very much, Mike, and good to work with you. So from the rest of the committee member, what did I want to say? There's something I wanted to say. It's left my head. So we do have a quorum, and the quorum is all of the members, the committee members at large. The 2 counselors, even though the ones that we had a couple of days ago previously going into, or at the last meeting, were voted back in, there still is a orientation meeting where there'll be a discussion as to what or who the counselors will be sitting on CPC going forward. So therefore, they're not here tonight. So any questions with respect to that? No? Okay. All right. Well, let's get going with the agenda unless anybody has anything else. So we have an agenda, and first question, is there any amendments with respect to the agenda as presented? And if there are no amendments, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Heather. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. The next one is council update, which we will skip because we don't have any counselors to let us know what's going on, except for we did have a 100% return of all of the counselors. So all 6 counselors did propose to return to council, and all 6 were elected. So the next thing is the adoption of minutes from the September 15th, 2021 meeting. Are there any errors or omissions that anyone noted? And if not, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as circulated? Okay, Adam. So Adam,
Wrong button. Motion to approve the minutes is circulated.
thank you. All in favor? Unanimous? Okay. And the next one is the Development Officers Report for the month of September 2021.
Well, CPC, thanks, Chair. So the Development Officers Report, there are 13 notices of decision that went out in September. 2 of them were obviously CPC's decision last meeting. 1 was appealed, but the appeal was being withdrawn. They misunderstood what the approval was for. And then there are 4 accessory suites that were approved in September. And then the rest were either variances or limited term signs, which is actually a very unique type of decision where the decision can go out without any advertising, and it's only allowed to stay up for 30 days. So 2 of those were approved in September as well. And then we look to our statistics at the bottom of the sheet there. As of October 14th of this year, we have 181 development permit applications, which compares to a significant increase from last year around this time. It was 130. And then we also have 2019 on there as well for you to compare as well. And then for compliance certificates, this year we are seeing a stark increase, as you've, I'm sure, noted this trend in previous meetings this year. Currently it's at 709, and last year it was at 377. So this is a 88% increase from last year, and a 70.1 or 71% increase from 2019. And that completes my development officer's report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ms. Tomes. Any questions? Mr. Pathrath, you need to unmute yourself.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi,
Welcome
George.
back. Sorry for being, my computer wanted to block me out from this meeting, but I'm back. I do have a question. The appeal that was brought back, was that the one for in Riversong, or sorry, in Riviera Way or River's Edge? The sunroom that was going to go to the subdivision appeal board?
That's correct, George. Through the chair, to answer your question, it was the excavation and stockpiling permit that was initially appealed, but they thought that it was for an actual residential development at this point, but it's not. It's just to move the dirt around. So they're now withdrawing their appeal.
Okay, but there was another one that was supposed to go to the appeal board in regards to the building of a sunroom on top of an existing deck. And we don't know, we don't have information of how that went to, how the appeal board decided.
So through the chair, I could answer that question if you want, Nicole. That was my file. So
Sure, I know the answer, but go ahead.
So yes, that appeal did get heard by the Subdivision Development Appeal Board, and a decision was made on October the 15th, and SDAB upheld the decision of the Cochrane Planning Commission to approve that that screen room in Riviera.
Thank you. May I ask that if there are these type of decisions made by the appeal board or whichever way it goes, that it becomes part of the report from the planning department, so that we don't have to try to chase down, and maybe we are enlightened by the wisdom of the appeal board when they make their choices.
Yes, certainly. I'll add that to the development officer's report.
Thank you.
That's an interesting request, George. We've never done that, but I think that is a piece of information. I don't see any issue with sharing it. Do you, Ms. Combs?
No, it should be pretty straightforward. I mean, the only thing will just be some timing issues. Like we have another appeal board meeting tonight, so we won't hear about that decision until November, but it's just a matter of letting you know about what they ultimately decide, right? So it's just
Yeah, sometimes it's also good for us to learn how they decided one way or the other versus the decisions we made, and we can learn from how it goes through their process. Thank you.
that makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions and comments with respect to the development officer's report? If not, can I have a motion to approve the development officer's report for September 2021 as presented? George, speak up.
Right. Having issues, let's try to get, I put forward the motion to accept the report as presented.
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Jones. Okay, so the first development application to be presented today is DP 0-2021-58. Ms. Cosby?
All right, so good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Planning Commission. Tonight I will be presenting Development Permit Application 2021-158. The development permit being presented is for a deck with variance to the side yard setback located at 101 Heartland Way. The property is zoned R1 Residential Single Detached Dwelling District, where the purpose and intent is to provide for single detached residential development. New neighborhoods will be designed to provide for integrated and varied lot sizes. A limited number of these lots may also contain accessory suites or garden suites. The applicant is proposing to expand their 10 by 12 deck located in the rear yard of the property to a 10 by 20 deck. The land use bylaw allows structures to project into the minimum distance required for yards on a lot in which the structure is located. The maximum side yard projection within the parcel for decks, including steps, is 0.61 meters. As a development application does not meet this prescribed setback, a 75% variance is required from 0.59 meters to 0.15. The applicant also plans to construct a 5x7 barbecue cover on the east end of the new deck. The height of the deck is 3 feet high, and the wall height for the barbecue cover is proposed at 7 feet for a total height of 10 feet high or 3 meters. The slide before you is a closer GIS visual of the subject property and the adjacent neighboring property. The red arrow illustrates where the wall for the barbecue wall will be located. As you can see from the image, the adjacent property has trees and landscaping along the west side of the shared fence, which provides a buffer in between the two properties. The application was circulated to internal departments for comment, and the development notification was posted on the subject property on September the 23rd. There were no concerns received regarding this proposed development. Planning has reviewed the application and determined, except for the side yard setback, the application meets all the requirements according to the land use bylaw and is in alignment with the town's planning policies. As the application will not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood, nor interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of the neighboring properties, administration is recommending option 1 with conditions outlined in your report. That concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Sorry, Deb, I don't think we can hear you.
Yeah, you're still muted.
Okay. We're all in the same boat today, George. So a question I had, Ms. Cosby, is at the end of the day, when they make the deck larger, will it be right up against the property line? Will there be no property line space at all? It looked to me when I looked at the pictures that there's the end of the house and then there's going to be a walkway with 3 steps up to the deck, and that will be right to the property line. Did I read that correctly?
So to the chair, there's actually going to be a 6-inch distance from the edge of the property to where the edge of the deck and the stairs are, which is the 0.15 meters.
Okay, and so there'll be the steps and then there'll be that wall right there. How far will the wall be away from the property line, the barbecue wall?
The 0.15 meters.
0.15 meters. Okay. Were the neighbors, did you confer with the neighbors to see if they had any issues with respect to them being that close to the property line?
To my knowledge, I don't know if the applicant had reached out to the neighbor or not. As I mentioned, the development notification was put on the property, so they definitely would have seen that there was something going on there that I guess if they had any concerns, they could call the office or talk to the applicant directly. I personally did not receive any phone calls in the office.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a question, Mr. Pathrath?
Yes, just because it's 6 inches from the property line, is there any issue about a fire emergency to the backyard or anything that contravenes the fire code with something that's that tight to the fence line at the back of the building?
So through to the chair, the fire department was circulated on this application and they had no comments in regards to that. So in addition, this property is on a corner lot, so they do have access from Horse Creek Road.
And my understanding, you said that the neighbor has trees right on the other side or has landscaping on the other side and is would be, in my opinion, unduly interfered by having a barbecue wall over his fence. That's what it seems like.
So I can just pull that slide up here again.
Thank you.
So this slide here shows that the red arrow where the applicant wants to extend the deck, and then they will have a 7-foot wall basically there that will be used for a barbecue cover. As you can see, you probably can't see my cursor, can you? My arrow?
I can, yes.
Yes, we
Oh, you
can.
can? Okay, perfect. So there is landscaping here on the neighboring property on the west property boundary. They do have a, as you can see towards the middle of the property, they look like to have a patio deck here. And then they've got the actual deck that's right here as well.
Great, thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, Ms. Moore?
Yeah, so if I'm looking at the picture, which we don't have like a plan of the house or anything like that, but it just seems to me that there's a better solution to a larger deck on this property because the deck is offset towards the neighbor's house. There's still half of their property, 3/4 of their property left on the other side. So I don't know what the direction was there, what the preference was on that, but yeah, I think it is encroaching on the neighbors. Yeah, I think it'd be unduly interfering with some people's enjoyment of their property.
So, Ms. Moore, is your question the applicant elected to go one way with the increase of the deck? Is your question could they have gone the other way and still receive the size of deck that they want to enjoy?
Yeah, I guess, sorry, I didn't pose a question.
No, I'm not. I'm just clarifying. Is that what
Yeah.
your question was?
My question, or to put out there, is, can we give them the option of presenting a different plan? Because I think the space is available.
So through the chair, their actual rear yard setback on from their deck to the rear yard is 4.63. So they potentially could have some room to expand the deck to the rear. The minimum encroachment that can be on that is actually 3.5 meters. So planning, when we get applications, we receive the application as is, and it's our job to, take that application, circulate it to internal departments, do the notification process. And if that's what the applicant wishes, then that's what we take, to the Cochrane Planning Commission for a decision.
Mhm. Yes, thank you. Always like to check in. Any questions or comments, Mr. Parsons?
I'm going to agree with Heather on that one, that when you look at it, I would wonder why it's going that way and not further into your own yard, but they must have their own reasons.
Okay. Mr. Pathrath, do you have any questions, comments? Is that a
I
yes?
guess it's a question of privacy for the neighbor that's adjacent him, and whether it's this neighbor who owns that house or future neighbor that owns that house. And I think we have an obligation to ensure that those type of privacies stay that way. So I'll be leaning not to approve this application
Okay.
based on privacy.
So is there any other questions or comments? Do we have a motion?
Well, I would like to put forth a motion that, if I can just get it right for a second here.
It's on page 16.
Thank you. I put forth a motion that the CPC refuses DP 2021-158 for a deck with variance to the side yard.
Okay, and so that we need to provide reasons for the refusal.
Reason is encroachment on what is normally accepted setback from someone's house or property to their property line.
Well, and I think I would like to add to that is that in Cochrane, we have a minimum setback of, I believe it's 1 meter, Ms. Crosby, or is it 1.2 meters? I know that we had it was 1.5 and it got reduced. Was it reduced to 1.2 or 1.5?
Yeah, so through to the chair, yeah. The side yard setback of a principal dwelling is 1.2 meters. However, there is a projection in the land use bylaw that allows the decks to be project 0.61 meters into that side yard.
At 0.61.
Yeah.
And this is at what? Sorry?
This is at 0.015.
0.015. So, I can certainly empathize with the applicant about having a larger deck. I'm personally uncomfortable with how close it is to the next resident, and also especially when you have a barbecue and a large thing. There's perhaps, and if this could be included, Lisa, in our points for refusal as to perhaps creating a fire hazard.
I'm sorry, just to put it out there, a quick correction, I think
Okay.
that the deck would be projecting in at 1.05 versus it's 0.15 from the property line, 1.05 into the setback.
So to clarify, the side yard setback is typically 1.2 meters for a side yard setback of a dwelling. Decks can project 0.61, right, which leaves a difference of 0.59. So the difference is from 0.59 meters. The variance is from 0.59 meters to 0.15 meters.
No matter which way you cut it, he's 6 inches from the property line.
It is. And so through the chair, just as a note, development permits are not required on decks when they are lower than 2 feet high. But because this deck is higher than 2 feet, it does require a development permit.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? I believe that we have a motion on the floor. The motion on the floor presented by Mr. Pathrath is to refuse for the reasons of, the reason again, Mr. Pathrath?
It encroaches onto the boundary of the property line, well beyond what was set in the bylaws.
Okay. And I would like to add, Lisa, and also with creating a possible fire hazard because of the closeness to the property line. Okay. Would all the members agree with that? Okay. So are we prepared to vote? All in favor with the reasons? And it's carried, unanimous. Okay, so the next development permit is 2021. Oh, no, we just did that one, sorry. 2021057, which is for a backlit sign or changeable sign. Adam? Mr. Norquist?
Yes, I'm just bringing up my presentation here. All right, here we go. So I'm presenting DP 2021-057. So this is for 2 freestanding changeable message signs. So the applicant is proposing to replace 2 of their existing freestanding signs within a drive-through to these new changeable message signs for their menu boards. And the most notable feature about these signs is that they will be changed by an electronic means, and they're being proposed under a similar use clause that we have for our commercial districts. So the site location is 12 Fireside Gate. The land is currently zone CR, which is our commercial residential mixed use development. And it's for the existing drive-through that's used for the Tim Hortons on site. Changeable message signs are a permitted use in this district. However, 2 variances are required in this case, which is one of the reasons this application is being brought forward to the Cochrane Planning Commission. So just quickly through planning evaluation, we looked at the existing location of the signs and how they comply with our Western Heritage design guidelines. Typically with signs, we like to look at, provide suggested materials for them. However, it's usually the principal building that does most of the static treatments under our current guidelines. So the signs will be a fairly simple black metal frame, and they're going to have a slightly smaller profile than what is existing on site. So under that similar use provision that I mentioned before, a development authority may allow use that is similar to use listed as a permitted or discretionary use in that district, if it still complies with the purpose and intent of that district. So in this case, we're looking at changeable message signs, which is defined as any sign that has a changeable message, whether that message is changeable by electronic or other means. And generally, changeable message signs are required to follow the regulations of the sign structure it is on. So in this case, a freestanding sign. So just quickly through the LEB regulations for freestanding signs, the proposed signs are meeting the maximum area and maximum height. as well as they're going to be established at road grade. The two variants required are for the number of freestanding signs that are located on site. For a multi-tenant development, there's a maximum of 2. However, with this application, even though it is replacing 2 existing signs, there would still be a total of 3 freestanding signs on site, as well as other variances for the separation between signs. This is just to reduce it from 15 meters to 2 meters. Again, these are 2 existing signs that exist within the drive-through for the explicit purpose of serving the drive-through. So here's a site plan showing exactly where these signs are going. They are going at the rear of the site, highlighted in red there. So there'll be one which is kind of a pre-screening sign, and then there will be the actual menu board. You can see the 2 existing signs on the bottom right-hand side there. So proposed signs are, again, they're going to have a simple black metal frame, and then there's going to be an LCD screen inlaid within them, which forms the changeable message part of these signs. So they will be controlled internally to coordinate both traffic and customer orders within the drive-through. As mentioned in the report, there will be conditions to control the brightness, the timing of the signs, what type of material that can be displayed on them, as well as ensuring that they're turned off outside of business hours. So this is just a pre-screening one. And then the main sign is here, and it has 3 inlaid LED screens in this case. So administration is recommending that the Cochrane Planning Commission approve development permit 2021-057 for the 2 changeable message signs with the variances subject to the conditions listed in the report. I'm available for any questions now.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nordquist. Okay, so CPC members, does anyone have a question? Mr. Parsons?
Refresh my memory, but I think the other Tim Hortons on West Side Drive had these signs approved for them earlier this year that we looked at.
Yes, through the chair, a very similar application was submitted to the Cochrane Planning Commission for the other Tim Hortons. The signs are basically the exact same profile.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. While everyone's thinking, just a quick question, Mr. Nordquist, is LCD the same as backlit or different?
As defined in our bylaw, they would be the same. Our backlit sign definition is quite general, and it's just anything that's illuminated internally. So any kind of screen or internal bulb would be considered backlit.
Okay, and so those signs will face what's the seniors' home? Will they not?
Yes, they face the north end of the site.
Okay, and so will the wattage or whatever the correct language is, will that be dimmed at a certain time?
Yes, so most of these screens do have the ability to be dimmed when they're not in use. So during their normal business hours, they will, of course, be on, but they can be reduced to, I believe it is half their brightness when there isn't a vehicle present.
Okay, so do we know what the business hours are for that particular Tim Hortons?
Through the chair, I do not have it on hand right now.
Okay, so we don't know what the hours are, but if there's not a car there, if no one's actually using the drive-through, then the lights dim?
Yes, the sign can be dimmed in that case.
Sorry, I'm a little bit, I just want to make sure when you say can be, I want to know is can be or will be. So I guess the question is do they stay at that brightness all the time until the actual drive-through closes for the day? Or does it dim when there's no, because at this time of year when it gets dark quite early, does it just stay brightly lit or does it reduce in brightness?
So through the chair, in the conditions of, or in the proposed conditions, there isn't anything that specifies a specific brightness. Other than that, they have an automated dimming capacity. If you wanted a specific amount for these signs, such as 50% when the sign isn't, or when there isn't a vehicle there, that could be added as a condition of approval.
Yeah, that's interesting. The reason I bring it up is just because it's facing the seniors' home, and I can't right at the moment remember whether or not there's any lights into residents' homes, directly into residents' homes, or whether or not all the windows are on the other side. So I'm just wondering about that. Ms. Combs?
So thanks, Chair. The residential, the units in that building do face the other direction. So the face of the building that faces the Tim Hortons is the front of the building. It's mostly administration. And then in the middle of the building is like common rooms, like kitchen and other things, but I don't think I know that there aren't any units in that center section. In addition to that, the Tim Hortons site is supported by a retaining wall. So the drive-through is a lot lower than the parking lot for the seniors living there.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ask those questions. Does anyone else have any other questions? Ms. Moore, did you have a question?
I was just going to make the same comment. I actually drive past it every day, and I was just Googling it, photos just now, and it doesn't look like any of the residents' home windows, patios face the Tim Hortons.
Okay.
So I don't think it'd be a lighting issue for them.
Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, is one of the members willing to put a motion on the floor?
I'll move to approve option 1.
Okay, and option 1 reads that we approve development permit 21057 for 2 freestanding changeable signs. All in favor? Oh, any other questions or comments first? Okay, if not, all in favor. Okay, carried unanimously. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nordquist. Now, the next one is application 2021-137, which has multiple variances on one application.
Sorry, wasn't there an application before that or no? I thought Adam had 2 before mine.
There very well could be. I wrote that in very little writing. Adam, do you have another one?
It's 135, the Garden Street
135.
office.
Okay. So Adam, if you could bring forward development permit or application 135, please.
All right. So yeah, development application DP 2021-135. This is for a proposed garden suite above an accessory building with variances. So the proposed development is for a new accessory building in the rear yard of 212 Pope Avenue. So there will be a ground level garage with a second level accessory suite within the building. And there are 2 variances required for both the height of the building and the size of the suite. The property in question, as mentioned, is 212 Pope Avenue, and it is currently zoned R1 single detached residential within the East End neighborhood. There is an existing single detached dwelling on site, and garden suites are a discretionary use. However, under a current bylaw, the development officer has authority to approve them. However, since there are 2 variances required that are both above 10%, the application is being brought forward to Cochrane Planning Commission tonight. Just as a note on the site plan, I have highlighted the other accessory suites in the area in purple, as well as a bed and breakfast, which is on a block adjacent to the site. So under the planning evaluation, this application is supported by both the municipal development plan and the Cochrane sustainability plan. The municipal development plan has a specific section regarding increasing the housing availability within Cochrane. Garden suites are an excellent way to provide this, especially in older neighborhoods with larger lots such as these. There is adequate space to incorporate the building as well as offsite the needs of the building on site, such as parking and amenity space. Again, the Cochrane sustainability plan has 2 pathways, ensuring that everyone has a roof over their head, which speaks to similar goals of ensuring that there is an availability of housing, as well as wherever you are in Cochrane, you're close and connected, which speaks to the density which we seek in our neighborhoods. So under the LEB, there are multiple regulations for a garden suite. Particularly, we look at if the size is suitable. So in this case, it has to have a minimum gross floor area of 30 meters square, which it does. The total floor area of the suite itself, so the livable area, is 94 meters square. However, because it is still an accessory use, it needs to be 40% of the gross floor area of the building. However, in this case, the suite is 58.8% of the gross floor area. So that main principal building, the single detached dwelling existing on site, is between the main floor and the basement is 160 meters square. So this is the first variance that is required to ensure, which is normally to ensure that this proposal will be subordinate to the principal use on the parcel. We also look at parking, which I'll touch base on a bit later, but we do have regulations to limit the number of tandem parking stalls, and only 2 are being proposed to support the suite, as well as we need to ensure that the suite has access to the parking stalls. And as shown on the site plans later, I'll show you that the stairwell and the separate door opens directly onto that parking pad area. The next variance required is regarding the height of the suite. So our bylaw stipulates that when we're looking at a garden suite, it can be a maximum height of the principal building. In this case, that is 5.6 meters. However, the proposed height of the suite is 7.6 meters. So again, there is a 2-meter difference there, and a variance is required. The suite meets all the other required setbacks as from both the side yard and the rear yard, as well as from the principal building itself. Finally, we do look at the design of the garden suite itself, making sure that it fits into with both the existing building on site as well as other buildings adjacent. So the applicant has made some design choices to help minimize the size of this building to help hide the size of the building. So it has a front back roof pitch. So this mainly helps with to eliminate that big blank wall facing the rear lane there, as well as there are dormers within the building, which will help break it up, and as well that provides additional windows and light into the suite area itself. So the parking requirements are, we require 3 parking stalls, 2 for the principal dwelling and 1 for the suite itself. There will be at least 6 provided on the site itself. 4 cars can easily fit within the garage proposed, as well as the applicant is proposing a 2-car tandem parking pad beside the garage. And as mentioned, the 2 variances are for the maximum floor area of the suite, as well as the height. I guess just a quick note, as I have this image up here, there are other suites that have been approved in this area and directly adjacent. So I guess for the sake of comparison, the property directly to the south, or to the south of this property, so it'd be on the left-hand side of the screen, 208 Pope Avenue. That is a secondary, or that is a garden suite above a garage. It has a height of 7.6 meters, but
Mr.
only a
Yardquist,
floor of 120 meters square.
are you able to use your mouse to point to where you are speaking?
So it's this building here. So as a point of comparison, the proposed building will have a footprint of approximately 233 meters square. So it will have a similar height to this building, but it will be substantially larger. As you can also see, the lot is also substantially wider, and that's how they can propose the size of the building while still meeting all the required setbacks. So here's the site plan. We have the existing principal dwelling here. There is an existing garage on site which will need to be demolished. This is the proposed accessory building, as well as a proposed 2-car parking pad beside it. On this plan, it shows that there is a side door and a staircase, which will lead up to the suite on the 2nd floor, ensuring that the suite will have separate access to their parking pad, and they won't need to go through the garage or anything. Again, this is just the floor plan of the ground floor. It is just an open garage with the single staircase right now. And then the suite will be on the 2nd level exclusively. It doesn't quite take up the entire footprint, but it does have that separate access, as well as there will be a deck to provide some private amenity area, which opens up into the property itself. Here are the proposed elevations of the garage. We have the west elevation here. As mentioned, there will be a deck which opens up. So this is facing into the property, as well as a door for the garage and a garage door for vehicle access. On the north elevation, so this is going to be overlooking the parking pad. There is a side door as well as windows overlooking that area. So we have the south elevation. So this is the side that is going to be directly beside that existing suite. As you can see, it's just a blank wall for right now. And then the east elevation, so this is the one that faces the lane. So it has the standard garage door and the tall garage door, as well as it has those dormers that I mentioned to help kind of break up the mass of the building and to kind of lessen the impact it will have on the rear lane. So in summary, a notification sign was posted during the review and circulation of the application. Administration received no concerns from other internal departments or external agencies. 4 adjacent landowners did submit concerns regarding the proposal, and I believe those have all been included in your package. And so when administration finished the review, well, both the issue of the height and the floor area could be mitigated individually. There is a cumulative impact between the two, and it was found that the scale of this building is uncharacteristic of this area, and it would have negative impacts. It is, as mentioned, quite a sizable building. Even with the larger property, it is going to be taking up a good portion of that rear yard space. So as such, administration is recommending that the Cochrane Planning Commission refuse development permit 2021-135 for the following reason: that the required variances to the maximum floor area and maximum height of the garage above the accessory building would have a cumulative effect that would negatively impact adjacent landowners. That is the end of my presentation, and I am available for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Nordquist. We have a couple of questions. Ms. Moore?
Yeah, rather a comment. I would say just to start out with, I 100% can empathize with the neighbors' concerns, the written comments that were included. And I think that giving those comments and the bylaws as they're written, you know, it's our job as a commission to protect the integrity of the neighborhood. So I'm definitely opposed to this permit.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pathrath, you had a comment?
Yes, Adam, thank you for that presentation. I have a couple of questions. One is regards to the comments from the neighbors referring to a 10% maximum of accessory suites in the neighborhood. Is that something that is really in the law, in the bylaws, or is this something we should be looking at? Because they're saying that they've exceeded it already, but I'm not sure whether it applies here or not.
So through the chair, previously in our bylaw, there was a 10% maximum to the number of suites within the neighborhood. That has since been changed. And more specifically, we don't specify a percentage anymore. It's just that when you, the development authority, so the Cochrane Planning Commission in this case, is making their decision, that they consider any clustering effects that may be present. So in this case, there are 2 accessory suites side by side directly south of this application, as well as a bed and breakfast that's being approved further north. So when you're looking at those, I guess 13 parcels that share that rear lane, it is, you can take into consideration the additional traffic impacts that would be caused.
Okay, very good. So my second question is, if the garden suite was not on top of the garage, would the garage be approved? How do we limit the size of accessory buildings? I do agree with Heather, this is a monster on a piece of land that's overwhelming it. But they brought forth the issues of the garden suite But the real issue is the size of what it sits on, which is the garage. And,
Yeah,
and
so-
this is something that could be appealed and come, even make a decision to go, no, it goes somewhere else and they still get an appeal to go forward. If we're going to make a decision to reject it, I want it to be as iron tight as it can be. And I want to understand what all the issues are.
All right, yeah, so through the chair, when we're looking at this, we are looking at a discretionary use. So in a circumstance that the garden suite isn't present, we do have regulations that are specific to accessory buildings that do speak to the maximum height as well as lot coverage setbacks. Again, it's sometimes hard to speak about hypotheticals. If the suite wasn't there and we weren't looking at the situation of there being a variance to the height, I believe that there would be less impact on the neighborhood and it would be more acceptable. It's in my review, it was found it was more the combination of both the size, so the footprint of the building, and the height that results in that negative impact. It's not necessarily one or the other. So again, if it was only a matter of varying the height, you'd have a narrower building height likely. If it was, again, only looking at the footprint, you'd have a smaller building and there'd be less impact by shadow setbacks, etc.
Adam, we'll be voting on what's presented in front of us, but thank you for the explanation. Is there, I didn't see any property line setback on that building on the, I guess, the south side. Is that an issue as well?
So through the chair, the south side is set back 1.2 meters from the property line.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Norquist, I have a couple of questions. I think in previous applications, when the land use bylaw changed, it references in when it changed. So if there was a previous 10% cap, so to speak, on these types of permits, and now it's been lifted, it should be, we should say when it was changed as to land use bylaw update on such and such a date, so that the neighbors don't come up with that because they've got that perspective or that perception. Ms. Tomes?
Through the chair, to answer your question, the changes that came through as part of the accessory suite and garden suite regulations in the bylaw, it has a bylaw number of 03/2020. So it would have been early in 2020 that these regulations were changed. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I did do several number of accessory suites during and before that time. And I believe that the East End was not at 10% capacity, but it did have the highest percentage in all of the neighborhoods in Cochrane. But I believe it was somewhere in the 6 to 7% range. So it wasn't at the max at the time of the regulation change. But that's when the regulation changed. And we haven't been tracking it in the same way since then because we've been evaluating the applications in that different way, in that clustering effect. You probably remember Amanda talking about block faces and looking at different ways of evaluating the impacts that way.
Yeah.
So that's when that would have changed for CPC as well as for development officers.
Yeah. And I was just wondering, in alignment with Mr. Pathras' comments, you know, that if we're going to turn this down, we want to make sure that if it goes to SDAB, that we're rock solid on our reasons for. So, Mr. Nordquist, any size of an accessory building should be limited to, like, this building must be in excess of the regulation. We don't, like, they're saying that that how many cars can park in it? That it has to be in excess of what the land use bylaw is stating for size limitations of a accessory suite or accessory building, is it not?
So through the chair, the only, I guess the only concrete limitation we do have on the size of an accessory building is lot coverage. In this case, I believe it can cover 21%, or sorry, 20% in an R1 district is what I was trying to say for an accessory building. However, due to the size of this lot, it is far wider and far deeper than basically any other R1 lot within the town of Cochrane. It doesn't meet that 20% yet. The only other measure that our bylaw talks to is 53.5 square meters, and that's only when we require a development permit. So the crux of the matter is that an accessory building is a discretionary use. So we can, it's not simply a matter of considering if it meets the land use bylaw, we can also consider the impacts that it will have on adjacent properties as well.
Okay, thank you. Another question, just wondering, if we look at the other two that are beside them on either side of them, I think they are at 7 meters. Now, is that the reason because the primary building is at 7 meters? And so this is a smaller house, and therefore the maximum size is 5.6 meters. So if the house was bigger, then it would be aligned, it would be agreeable. So I'm just thinking that the person that's putting the application forward may feel penalized because they have a smaller house when the people beside them have garden suites that are 7 meters high. Is that correct?
So yes, the application to this house is approximately the same height. But again, and yes, if the principal building was larger, it would reduce or eliminate the need for a variance. Or no, it would only reduce. We still have a hard maximum of 7 meters. So it would still be over a 10% variance, and it would still need to come to the Cochrane Planning Commission. However, again, it is, in our review, it's more the cumulative effect of both having too much height and being too large. So like the difference between the footprint of this building and the one to the south is about 100 square meters.
Okay. So just one other question to remind me, is that a corner lot? I can't remember here.
No, it's not.
It's not a corner lot. So when I'm looking at the purple ones, the two purple ones to the side or to the adjacent, so that's a regular house and then the garden suite and a regular house and a garden suite. You just went past it, I think. Okay, yeah, there. Okay.
So if this is the image that you're looking at, so the parcel we're looking at is highlighted in yellow. And then the one directly south is a single detached with a garden suite. And then there's another property south of that, which is a single detached with a garden suite.
Okay. So I was just thinking along the way with the size of those, they could have maybe even been subdivided, but that's just, that's just a comment. So going back to this particular application and the cumulative size, does anyone else have any other comments that they'd like to add before we look to having a motion put on the floor?
I have a comment.
Ms. Moore?
Just similar to the application that we just looked at for the deck. I think in this situation, there are other solutions to accomplish the same thing and not affect the neighborhood and the neighbors. And I think right now that's just too much for where they are. And like I said, another design, a different solution. I think that possibility is there. So I don't think that we are like out of line to refuse this.
Mhm. It's interesting. I took a picture that I was going to forward to Mr. Nordquist walking by a building just yesterday here in Comox. That was a very good design and not of that height and of that footprint. So, so thank you. So at this point, if there's no other discussion or no other comments, are we prepared to put a motion on the floor?
Yes, we are.
Okay, and are you willing to do so, Mr. Pathrath?
I'm putting forth a motion that CPC refuses development permit 2021-135 for the following reasons. The required variances of both maximum floor area and maximum height. And I would like to add to that it adversely impacts the neighborhood, this particular design,
Okay,
as presented.
as presented. Okay, and would all of the members be in alignment with that addition? Okay, okay. And if we are, then any other questions, comments, discussions before we go to the vote? No? Yeah, okay, and so we'll call the vote. All in favor? And opposed? It is unanimous. Okay. Okay, and so before I gallop before and miss one again, so this is DP 2021-137, and this has multiple variances.
Good evening, members of the Cochrane Planning Commission. This evening, I'm here to present DP 2021-137 for a decision as the application requires multiple variances over 10%. This development is for the construction of multiple freestanding signs, a fascia sign, and a carport at 12 Clydesdale Crescent within the Heartland community. The subject property is designated Public Service District, where the purpose is to provide for predominantly publicly owned cultural, educational, institutional, and recreational uses being operated by or on behalf of federal, provincial, or municipal government. The subject property is the future location of the town's Protective Services building, which is currently under construction. This is the previously approved site plan for the property. The application before you this evening is for one accessory building, which is shown in the bottom right corner, one fascia sign, two identical freestanding signs along Horse Creek Road and Clydesdale Avenue, and 6 freestanding signs along Highway 1A, which are all discretionary uses in the Public Service District. A carport classified as an accessory building within the bylaw is proposed on the east side of the previously approved principal building and will cover 14 parking stalls. The carport is 48.45 meters long and 6.94 meters wide, with a total area of 336 meters squared. The proposed accessory building meets all regulations within the land use bylaw, including the front yard, side yard, rear yard setbacks from the principal building, lot coverage, and height. A fascia sign is a sign that is attached flush to a vertical surface of a building. The application is proposing one fascia sign on the previously approved accessory building, also known as the outbuilding. The fascia sign is 4.95 meters squared and will be facing Highway 1A. The proposed sign meets all regulations within the land use bylaw. Eight freestanding signs are proposed, one along Clydesdale Avenue, the second along Horse Creek Road, and 6 along Highway 1A. The bylaw defines a freestanding sign as a sign that is supported independently of a building, wall, or structure. The signs along Clydesdale Avenue and Horse Creek Road are identical, and the design is provided in the top right corner of the slide. The proposed signs along Clydesdale Avenue and Horse Creek Road meet all applicable regulations in the bylaw, except for the sign area. The bylaw allows for a maximum sign area of 2 meters squared, and the signs are proposed at 2.21 meters squared, for a difference of 0.21 meters squared. Therefore, both signs require a variance of 10.5%. The freestanding signs proposed along Highway 1A spell out the word police. It is administration's interpretation that each letter is its own freestanding sign, as each letter or sign area is independently supported by posts. The signs are proposed on one common base to increase the height so that they could be seen from the highway, but each sign area is still separately supported other than the base. Therefore, based on the definitions in the land use bylaw, it is administration's interpretation that 6 freestanding signs are proposed along Highway 1A and will require 7 variances to the bylaw. The first variance is to the maximum height allowed. The bylaw allows a height of 3 meters and the signs are proposed at a maximum height of 4.6 meters, which is a 53.3% variance. The second variance is to the setback from the property line. The bylaw requires a setback of 0.75 meters and the sign is proposed at 0.56 meters, which is a 25.3% variance. The remaining variances are for the separation distance between the signs. The bylaw requires a 15-meter distance between freestanding signs, but each letter is separated by 0.45 meters to the next. Therefore, 5 variances of 97% are required. Section 37.5.7 of the land use bylaw allows for 1 freestanding sign on the subject property. However, the application is proposing 8 separate signs. Therefore, the applicant is requesting a variance of 700% to the number of freestanding signs on the property, in addition to the variances previously mentioned. It should be noted, however, that the property has 3 street frontages. The application was circulated for comments and no concerns were received from other town departments or external agencies. Administration has reviewed the application and determined it requires 10 variances to the land use bylaw. Administration is of the opinion that the number of variances required to the freestanding signs along Highway 1A significantly alter the purpose of the land use bylaw and the regulations within. As a result, administration is recommending option 1, that the Cochrane Planning Commission refuse the application due to the number of variances and the scale of variances required, with the noted reasons for refusal in your report. It should also be noted that 2 letters from the applicants were included in your package this evening as Appendix 6 in the report for your consideration. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, and I believe that we have a comment from Ms. Moore.
Nope, that was actually from the last.
One, okay.
Yep.
Mr. Pathrath?
Yes, I have just a couple of questions. I really don't understand why 10 variances would be an issue to go through. You said that it's sufficiently alters the bylaws because they're presenting 10 variances at the same time. I really don't understand that position because I've got no trouble with what we see here, other than a few of the signs, which I'll ask later. But the premise that it should be rejected because they were bundled into 10 and it will alter the bylaws or somehow significantly affect the bylaws. I don't understand that position.
Sure. So through the chair, administration believes that due to the number of variances and the scale of the variances, because there's one variance of 700%, 5 of 97%, that is significant variances to the bylaw. And we believe that the design could have been altered to require less variances. So that's why a refusal was recommended.
All right, good. Now I understand that. So the issue is, as I think that the accessory building or carport, I personally don't have an issue with. I don't have an issue with the 2 signs that are on Clydesdale and on Horse Creek Road. The issue seems to be the police sign that is on Highway 1A, which is, I think it's 45 feet long and 8 feet high, which is a massive sign. And I think the architect refers to it in his letter as in the realm of art. I think if it's going to be art, it should be a little bit more artsy. I have no problem of the police department putting the proper notification of where their building is so that the community knows where it is. But I agree that what they've presented as a sign for police as you enter Cochrane from the west, 1A coming in, and you have this big 45-foot, 8-foot high sign saying police on it. I'm not so sure that's the type of message we're trying to send as a community. I do appreciate the people in the police force, but such a massive sign is that the right use of how we notify where our buildings are? So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
So Ms. LeGros, can I ask a question with respect to over the last 2 or 3 meetings, we've had multiple applications come through with multiple variances. When an applicant comes forward and has multiple variances, could they not choose to put in multiple or different applications? Like they could put in one application for the carport, a different application for the signs, and then a different application for the other. I personally feel it's a little bit, I am a little bit reluctant to turn it down because one of the 3 pieces may or may not fit when the other 2 I'm fine with. And so I'm just wondering about administration's direction with respect to multiple variances being presented.
So to the chair, we do leave that discretion up to the applicant. We do let them know that if you apply for an application as a whole, we have to evaluate the application as a whole. So if there's something we are concerned with in that application, they have the opportunity to take that out of the application and resubmit it under a separate application before a decision is made. We do give them opportunities to make those changes before proceeding with a decision.
Okay. So I had one question with respect to the 2 freestanding signs. Can you show me again what those are? The 2 freestanding, not the police one, the other one.
The identical ones, okay. Oops. Sorry, 1 second. Started from the wrong spot.
So my question is, what is on those signs?
The signs themselves will be for the identification of RCMP.
So will that be 4 letters, RCMP, or what?
The
would
signs
it be?
themselves are in this square here, as well as this the rectangle,
Yeah,
the 2 rectangles here. They aren't required to show us the text of the sign, as the bylaw doesn't regulate the text. The bylaw only
okay.
regulates the structure itself.
Okay. And so those 2 will be located again. Can you show me where they will be located?
Right, this is a little confusing of a slide, but this is Horse Creek Road.
Yes.
One
okay.
sign is right here to the west of the building,
Okay.
and the other sign will be at the main entrance along Clydesdale Avenue, at the bottom of the screen here.
Okay. And then the other 2 signs, the one pointing down at the right.
So this
that's a
blue
carport.
oval is the carport,
Okay.
and that's an image of it. The fascia sign is on the outbuilding, which is a previously approved accessory building,
Okay.
otherwise a garage. And that's this sign right here on the left. And then the police sign is at the corner at the intersection of Highway 1A and Horse Creek Road.
Okay. And what is the one that's pointing down and to the right?
This one right here,
Yes.
that is the carport.
Oh, that's
So,
the
the
carport
carport-
itself. It's not a sign.
It's not a sign, no.
Okay, so we have a sign on the bottom and a sign on the side, the side in the corner, and then the 6. Okay. All right. So for my own personal 2 cents, when I looked at the police sign, I would have considered it as 1 sign, and I understand with the regulations that it's seen as 6 signs. I was actually impressed with the design of the sign. I was not thinking so much about the size, but I certainly was thinking about the design, and they did make an effort for it to be aligned with the Western Heritage components. And that's one thing I believe is important, because that's, we want, and I know that the land use bylaw has not been changed with respect to the heritage guidelines, that has not come forward yet. However, there is discussion with respect to making sure that all arteries have the heritage guideline components attached to it. And I personally thought that the sign was tasteful and respectful of the heritage guidelines. I didn't, frankly, think about the size. So that's a point of discussion. So those are my comments. Ms. Moore?
I just have a quick question concerning the police sign. What's the approximate distance from the front of that sign to the highway? Like how far does it sit back?
I would have to look at what the distance is from the highway itself, but it's set back 0.5 meters from the property line. And then there is a bit of public right of way, and then the highway itself.
Right. I'm just considering like the perspective if you're driving down the highway versus if you're standing up next to the sign, right? Of course, 7 feet or 8 feet seems really big, but depending on how far it's set back, the design might be appropriate for the impact that we're trying to make, given the distance that it is from the people who are driving by it.
So through the chair, I don't have the actual setback, but in the report, I believe it's Appendix 3 with the freestanding sign drawings. The applicant did provide a visual of what that sign would look like from the highway, if that helps.
Yeah, I saw that. That's why I was kind of trying to wrap my head around.
Can someone remind me what page that is on? Is it on page? Because I thought I did see it. Oh, is it on page?
It is on page 11.
Page 11 of 16. So from my perspective, looking at it as from an overall site, yes, it's a big sign. However, I don't think it's overbearing in my perspective. We won't regret it being there in the future. Mr. Parsons?
I think Heather had her hand up there. She wanted to ask something else.
Okay. Ms. Moore?
I just wanted to make another comment that, we're talking about a protective services complex, and I think that it needs to make a statement.
Okay. And Mr. Parsons?
I agree. It's a nice statement piece. It really adds to the look of the building, and it's going to draw your attention. And I think it needs to stand out to be the building that it is. We want to make this be like a centerpiece.
Okay. So do we have any other comments? If we do not, then we would need to put a motion forward, and the motions are listed on page page 48 of the package. So the options that are listed are option 1, that the CPC refused development permit 2021137 for 8 freestanding signs, 1 fascia sign, and an accessory building carport at lot 100, block 41, plan 1812415 for the following reasons. That is option 1. Option 2 is that the CPC approve subject to the following conditions and advisory notes. And then we have option 3. Is to provide direction as deemed appropriate or postpones the application to a date specified by CPC. So those are our 3 options.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Moore, are you willing to put a motion forward? Okay.
Yeah, I move to approve option 2, which is to approve the development permit 2021-137 for 8 freestanding signs, 1 fascia sign, and an accessory building carport at lot 100, block 41, plan 181-2415, subject to the conditions and advisory notes included.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Pathrath? No? Mr. Parsons? No? If we have no other or further questions or comments, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And it is unanimous. Carried unanimously. Okay, so now I can see from my notes that you guys tricked me. Do you have another one, Mr. Nordquist? Oh, you do. Okay. So the next one is DP 2021152, and it is with respect to signs.
Yes, good evening. So DP 2021-152 is for 2 freestanding signs with variances. So the applicant is proposing to place 2 freestanding signs on their property. Due to the size of the property, 2 variances are required to allow the additional sign and reduce the separation distance between them. So the property in question is 305 First Street East within the Central Business District. There is an existing educational establishment on the property, and freestanding signs are a permitted use. However, due to the 2 variances, we are bringing it forward to the Cochrane Planning Commission tonight for a decision. So under planning evaluation, again, when we're looking at signs, we are looking at kind of the material. These signs are going to be primarily a timber frame with an aluminum panel. I've highlighted their 2 locations on the air photo here to give you an idea of where they're going to be. So under the land use bylaw, it is meeting our regulations for both the maximum height and maximum area of the Central Business District. So these signs are 1.83 meters high and 0.55 meters square. So they're going to be about eye level as you're walking along the street. So because this is a single tenant lot, 100% variance is required to allow an additional freestanding signs. Normally only 1 is permitted. The second variance is to reduce the separation between the signs from 15 meters to 13 meters. And this is just how they are positioned on the property. They are, because it's a corner lot, each sign is facing a different street. And they are both actually going to be obscured from one another by the building. So as you're walking or driving around, you should only be able to see one at a time. And both signs are going to be meeting their 0.75 meter setback from the property line. So here's the site plan and elevations provided. Again, the 2 stars here show where they're going to be placed in relation to the building, as well as the elevations are over here. So it's going to be simple timber posts and a white aluminum panel for the sign. So this is a concept elevation just to show how these signs are going to fit in with the streetscape and how they're going to basically be backed by the building here. Again, these are going to be about the size of a person, so about 6 feet tall, and they're going to mesh quite well with both the pedestrian and vehicle traffic in the area. As such, administration is recommending option 1, that the Cochrane Planning Commission approve development permit 2021-152 for 2 freestanding signs with variances subject to the conditions listed in the report. That's the end of my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you for your presentation, Mr. Nordquist. Do we have any questions or comments, concerns with respect to this development application? If there is no discussion, do we have a motion to be placed on the floor?
I'll make a motion as soon as I get to that page.
Find it. It is on page.
Page 67.
Thank you. Almost there. All right, I will move for option 1 that the Cochrane Planning Commission approve the development permit 2021-152 for 2 freestanding signs, Block 7, Plan 7610439, 305 First Street East, subject to the conditions that are listed.
Okay. Any other questions or comments before we go to a vote? No? 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 Okay. So with that, we'll go to a vote. All in favor? Opposed? It is unanimous. And that is the last development permit on the docket for today. Our next meeting is Wednesday, November 17th, 2021 at 6:30. Can I have a motion to end the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, sure, now everybody talks. Okay. All in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you.